Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to draw this beautiful silhouette of a horse with white and black charcoal pencils on black art paper. So let's begin. These are the supplies that I'm using for today's charcoal drawing. I've got a pad of Arteza acid-free black paper. Just to show you, it's 9 by 12 inches, 90 pound. It's perfect black art paper for white charcoal. So that's going to be my canvas. I've got my charcoal pencils, well used. I have white and I have various black pencils. I will put a list in the description below of what I end up using. I also have a pastel chalk pencil, and this is to transfer my stencil onto my canvas, but you don't need this. I'll show you what to do in a minute. For blending, I have some cotton swabs. I also have some blending stumps and tortillon blenders. I'm probably just going to use these two, but I'll keep these handy just in case. And I have a little bit of masking tape. So I'm going to show you here. This is the stencil that I created. I'm going to put a link in the description below where you can save this and download it if you'd like. I was just looking online for photos of horses because I felt like drawing a horse. And I was going to do a full-fledged realistic drawing today, but then I thought, no, you know what? I just feel like doing a silhouette. So I was browsing images online and I saw a beautiful image of a silhouette horse, and that inspired me to do this one. And now I'm going to show you how to transfer your stencil onto your canvas. I decided to outline my stencil with Sharpie. That way when I turn it over I can see through it. And I'm going to show you why. Usually I use this. It's white graphite transfer paper. It's basically just like the old carbon copy paper. You put it underneath your stencil onto your canvas, and then you take a sharp pencil and you go over it, and then it transfers your stencil onto your canvas very cleanly and nicely. But I wanted to show you a different way of doing it. I have a pastel chalk pencil here, but I decided I want to try this with my white charcoal. I want to see if this is actually going to work well. So I'm basically just putting white charcoal everywhere that I see the back of that stencil. And it's worth it to outline it with a black Sharpie because you can see where you need to put your charcoal. I'm a little thrifty, let's just say, when it comes to, you can see, I use these down to the nubs. I'm a little thrifty when it comes to my art supplies, so if I can save them in any way, I will. If you don't outline your stencil, you have to do the entire page because you won't be able to tell, really, where the stencil starts and stops. So let's try this. I think I got these already, yep. All right. So now I am going to carefully place my stencil on top of my canvas, and I've already got a little bit of masking tape ready here, just so it doesn't move around. And I have just a retractable pencil. It's because I want something sharp. So I'm going to press down with my pencil quite hard. I don't want to break the page, but I'm using pressure, that's for sure. And let's see how well that transfers. All right. Carefully remove the masking tape because it might rip your paper. Okay, you see how that works? It did a good job transferring my stencil. I prefer to use this stuff just because it's cleaner, but this always works. All right, so now let's begin by taking a white charcoal pencil. I'm going to be working left to right and top to bottom because I'm right-handed. So I'm basically going to go around and just make sure that this looks like a silhouette. I'm just going to fill in some areas with the white charcoal, just so it doesn't look like an outline anymore. And I may do several layers. I'm doing, I guess, the tail right now, giving the tail a little bit of detail. Always turn your pencils once in a while so that you don't wear them down on one side. And I'm applying the charcoal in little circles. This is the back of the horse here. I'm not pressing hard, by the way. You don't have to press hard with, well, with anything. You don't have to press hard with coloring pencils or with charcoal or graphite, because the whole idea is to add layers. Okay, I'm going to add, let's see. I want to make sure that the horse's face is well outlined. So, and I want it to be a crisp outline. Like here I've got, this is like the tail that's going to be coming out, little pieces of hair flying everywhere. But I want this to be very crisp. So I'm going to make sure I keep that outline, and I'm applying small circles of white charcoal on the outside of this outline here. And the wonderful thing about using white charcoal on black paper is that if you do something you don't like, or if you make a mistake, just grab a black charcoal and go over it, and that'll be our little secret. All right, same thing up here throughout the entire horse's head. I'm going to pause the video just for a moment. I just stopped the video so I could pull out a piece of wax paper because I realized that I need to put my hand down as I'm doing this, and I don't want to smudge up my drawing here. My dogs are moving around all over the place. You'll probably be able to hear them once in a while, snoring or shifting or jumping up and down, drinking water. This is a pet house. I would love to have horses. Oh, I would love to have horses, but I do not have a pasture. And I've been told, you know, you don't necessarily need a pasture to have them, but I don't think I have enough land for them to be happy. Maybe mini horses in the future. I thought about that. Okay, so I have my first layer of white charcoal here, and I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm just going to lightly blend very lightly. I want this part of the tail especially to be very, very soft. I'm definitely going to be adding layers though. You see the difference between what's blended and what isn't? It's a lot softer. Start here. Once in a while you have to wipe off your blending stump because it does get filled with charcoal and it's not as effective. You'll feel it and you'll see with the results when it's time to wipe it off. Jack, why don't you go lie down? He's growling. I'll be right back. Okay, the dogs are all settled again. For the horse's head, I'm actually going to use my small tortillon blender because, as I mentioned before, I want to keep the outline quite sharp. I am going to add some more layers to it, but I want the bottom layer to be sharp. So I'm basically just going over it very, very straight, in a straight way, to make sure that that outline stays outlined in a sharp way, like I said. When you use the tortillon blenders, they are very hard, but they're great for detail if you want to keep the integrity of a small detail like the twinkle in an eye or something like that. Blending stumps are great for large areas as well, and I find that they blend more softly than the tortillon blender. It may not look like it's blended, but it is. And I'm blending this one in straight up and down lines. When I first started my art channel, I kind of followed the crowd a little bit, and I did a lot of time-lapsed art videos. And I realized as time went by that, you know what, if people really want to do the tutorial, they don't really want a time-lapse, unless they're maybe impatient. They don't really want to do the tutorial, they just want to watch it. So I've changed my style, and every single video I put out now is real time, except for the shorts that I do when I draw the Looney Tunes. Those are always time-lapsed because they have to be under a minute, and I can't draw and color in anything under a minute. So back to the blending stump. right, so that's my first layer. I'm going back to my white charcoal pencil, and I'm going to add some more charcoal to certain areas that I want to be a little more bright. Turning my pencil once in a while. And probably this whole area in here, it's going to be quite white, the back of the horse. I'm just adding some wisps of hair right here that I'm going to blend. Okay, for now, I'm going to leave that for now, and maybe add just a little detail here and there. Now, for the outlining of the horse's head, I'm going around the entire head again with the charcoal, and I'm bringing that charcoal out a little bit. Actually, not around the whole head, just around, let's say from the back of the horse here till this side of the ear. I'm just going to do that. I guess I'm trying to create the illusion that the hair is coming up here. The mane, I guess it's called. And here too, this is part of the mane here. So this is going this way. And there's a little bit of hair coming down here. And maybe over here too, I'll make this a little brighter. And I'm going to work on the head after, but for now I'm going to go back in with my blending stump, and I'm going to blend everything with the blending stump in the direction of the way the hair is going. Remember, this is the tail. I don't want any lines showing just yet. I mean, if it is a line like this one, that's obviously going to show, but in the detail of the tail, I just want it to sort of be wisps at this point, not too many harsh details. I'm going to add that after. I still want it to be quite blended. I don't know about these little lines here. I'm going to see if I like that or not. I might actually erase those out with a black charcoal after. Because I want this to be very soft, I'm using my blending stump. And I'm pulling it out. I'm blending the area where I applied the charcoal, but I'm going out further. And eventually it kind of disappears into the black. That's the look I'm going for. Now don't press too hard with your blending stump because you could very easily damage your paper. And if you do damage your paper, you will not be able to add any more layers for blending. It'll just rip your paper after that. That's why you don't press too hard with anything. Well, that's one of the reasons. You don't want to hurt your hand either. If your hand hurts, you're pressing too hard. All right. Okay, that's good so far. Back to the white charcoal. Even more highlights now. I'm just adding kind of wisps of hair to the tail and a little more highlighting here on the horse's back. All right, let's see. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the mane here behind the head. These I'm not going to be blending, by the way. All right, how about a little bit of detail? Now I'm guessing that the eyes would be I'm not putting in the eyes, but there's a little bump here, and usually on this side here where that little bump is, that's where the eye would be. Just putting in a little bit of detail here, and maybe a little bit of detail here where the eye might be here. Okay, I'm going to take my tortillon blender just around those areas on the head. I'm going to be blending those very gently. It sounds like I'm scratching, but I'm really not pressing that hard. It's just because the tip is, it's hard paper. That's what these are made out of. All right. So I'm thinking now what I want to do is take my white again and put just a layer of white in certain areas around the head. That I won't be blending. Maybe to make that, oh, I made a mistake there. You know what, I'm going to fix that right away. I have a 2B black charcoal pencil, and I'm just going to fix that right away so I don't forget, because I made the ear, I kind of wrecked the ear there. You see how easy that is to do? You don't even have to blend it. Okay, now I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm just going to soften around the horse's face. I wasn't going to do that, but I decided I'm going to do that. But I'm not blending in those white lines that I just applied. I want to bring that white out a little bit like I did around here to have it kind of fade into the black a little bit. Wipe this off. Okay, I think that's good. Now, I'm going to take that 2B black again and do a little bit of what I call cleanup work. Starting with the tail, I'm just going to add a few areas of black here. That'll help give shape to the tail. Whenever I do white charcoal, I never just use white. I always put some black into it everywhere, not just to fix mistakes, but to give the illusion of more detail. I'm turning my pencil once in a while here too so that it doesn't wear down on one side. I'm going to color in a little bit of charcoal here because I want to separate that face a little bit from the hair on the head. The mane, I'm always forgetting that name or that word. All right. Gives a little bit more detail, and I'm going to put in a little bit here. And remember these lines I said before I wasn't sure about? Well, I got a little white charcoal there. I don't want that. I'm still not sure about them, so I'm just going to kind of erase most of that. And if I have any lines in here, it's just, I'm going to put them in with white again, but they're not going to be blended. First, I will blend the black. You can use cotton swab for black. It works really well for black charcoal. I don't know why, but cotton swabs don't work very well for white charcoal. Just erasing all of my, not completely, but it'll be erased for the most part. I'll just blend that in there. Okay, now I'm going to take my white charcoal again, and I'm just going to put in a few little, there, that's it. That's all I want to do. I'm really liking the way this looks. I'm going to take my darkest charcoal, it's a 6B, and I'm just going in and filling in some areas of the horse's face because I want it to be just a little bit darker. But I'm going to be careful not to color over anywhere where I applied the white. And for 6B, which is a very dark charcoal, it's soft. The higher the number, the darker and the softer the pencil. You don't have to apply a lot because it spreads. I'm going to be real careful here. This part is optional. You don't have to do this. If your page is black and you're happy with it, you can stop. I always like to add black charcoal though. And I'm going to bring that down a little bit. It's very dusty, so you can grab some off your cotton swab and put it anywhere else on the page. I like the way that looks, so I am going to, actually, I have to sharpen this. My charcoal pencils are, I use the 6B the most, and it really does get very, very blunt very fast. These are hard to, they're hard to, I was just about to say, they're hard to sharpen because they break a lot. So I'm going to stop the video, and I'll sharpen it properly. Well, my friends, I could not sharpen it without the thing breaking constantly, so I'm just going to grab my next darkest one, which is a 4B. And I'm just going to do the same thing and just fill in the areas that I want really, really dark. Turn your pencil once in a while so that it doesn't break. Otherwise, you'll have the pain of having to sharpen it. And also, you don't want it to wear down on one side because then they do break quite easily. That's what happened with my 6P there. It was worn down on one side and it really broke quite easily. All right, so I'll take a cotton swab and I'll just blend that black in, making sure I don't go over any of the white that I put in. Worst case, you can always just reapply. And you can turn your cotton swab once in a while too, because if it gets too filled with charcoal, it starts to wear down the cotton and it'll scratch your page, and you don't want that. All right, I'm just going to look this over one more time and see if there's anything that I want to change or do. Probably add a little more white in certain areas. And I'm going to take my 2B again and just maybe add a little more dark areas to give shadow to those highlights. And maybe take away a little bit of the white at the same time. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with this. And there we go. Signing my work with my tiny little charcoal nub. This was a nice little charcoal lesson to do on a rainy afternoon. I really enjoyed it and I like how it turned out. It was just a simple little drawing and I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment. I love to read them. Let me know, do you like doing charcoal? Did you do this? If you did, please let me know. And if you're on Instagram, all of my information is in the description below and in my About section of this YouTube channel. Please tag me if you've done any of my lessons. I would really enjoy to see your artwork. So that will be it for today, my friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.